Hey guys, today on Witch Please, my favorite vintage witchy books. Oh god, there we go. Okay, so this is my vintage witchy book haul. And there really isn't a book in this box that I don't highly recommend. The first four books you've seen in my last video. It's, Power of the Witch, Wicca, Old Religion in the New Age, Eight Savage for Witches, and The Witch's Way. And there is also, of course, Drawing Down the Moon. And this is in no particular order. It's just whatever order I threw these books in the box. Oh god, if you've seen my personal library, it's quite extensive. I had you scrounge and look under every little shelf and on the floor, around the shelves, looking for where I thought these books would be. I really need to organize a whole hell of a lot better. But it is what it is. I'm a slob when it comes to keeping things in an organized fashion. We have Starhawk's Dreaming in the Dark. And one of her books I didn't really include, only because it's not really my favorite book. I have it, I read it. I just don't really use the Spiral Dance in any real meaningful way. So that's really the only reason why it's not included in this video. But I love her. This book, Truth or Dare, is amazing. As is, of course, Dreaming in the Dark. Both of them are really about self-empowerment and really living your life with integrity as a method with which to shape and change the world and the universe, but also as a way to really understand your own power as a method for creating spells and witchcraft. It's a fabulous foundation. And if that interests you, get those books. You will not be disappointed. And of course, we have. Let's move those. You have Jared Gardner's Witchcraft Today and The Meaning of Witchcraft, which I am so glad that Wiser and Citadel Publishing brought these books back into circulation. There's fabulous reads. If you've never read them, you really should get a hold of them and read them. It just astounds me how much Jared Gardner knew about ancient paganism, that many scholars that criticize him or are critical of him don't know nearly as much about ancient paganism as Gerald did, which is, in a sense, ironic in of itself, because if you're going to criticize a man, you should at least know as much as they did. Paul Husson's Mastering Witchcraft, a phenomenal book. There is just so much within this book to just really devour. It's got recipes in here for incense, oils, potions, wine, even Sabbath wine. It really discusses sort of the old school view of the coven and the work of the coven, the goddess and the god, things of that nature that you really don't see in many other books anymore, which is a damn shame. This is, hold on, this book even have an author. Yeah, Frank Smith, Modern Witchcraft, the fascinating story of the rebirth of paganism and magic. Yeah, no, I think I've had this book on myself for a while, but I don't think I've ever actually read the damn thing. But it's got a chapter on Jared Gardner, so I'm definitely going to be giving it a read through to see what his objective or his agenda is. Then there is the Anatomy of Witchcraft by Peter Henning. Peter Henning has actually written quite a few books on witchcraft back in like the 60s and 70s. So his books are really, really quite spectacular. Okay, now I think. Let's see. Now we are in with my Doreen Valiente books, an ABC of Witchcraft, past and present. Actually, this book, this video is actually inspired by another YouTuber, Author Nicole Canfield, I believe her name is, and she also has this book, the exact same edition as mine, but hers has the original dust jacket, which is just badass. It's got all these fabulous ritual items on it, including an antlered horn god headdress, which I was just salivating over the imagery in it. I just love that old school that old school dust jacket. That one of these days I think I will try and hunt down that another copy with the dust jacket, because I really love that imagery on it. I am an old devotee of Old Horny, so me and him go way back. There's also her book Witchcraft for Tomorrow, and I am so thankful that Hale actually brought back one of her older books that had gone out of print for a long time. It's The Rebirth of Witchcraft, in which she really discusses her relationship with Jared Gardner and her sort of thoughts and views about the origins of witchcraft and the witch cult itself. This is another fabulous one. Witchcraft, the Old Religion by Dr. Leo Louis Martello, who, died far too soon. I simply adore all his books, and I can't wait for all of them to come back into print again, because they are all currently out of print except for a couple, I think. If I'm wrong, let me know. This is one of my favorite books. In fact, this is one of the first books I ever bought on Amazon, back when Amazon was basically just books and music, like most bookstores were. And it is Witchcraft and the Gay Counterculture by Arthur Evans. And God, I just cannot tell you how much I adore this book. I had heard that Arthur was actually working on a revised edition of this book, and I really hate to say it, but I'm personally glad that he didn't. He was never able to actually publish that book before he died, because he had become such a different person that his book would have been totally different. As I understand it, he had become so conservative in his old age, in his later years, that he really looked down on the homeless and the poor for much of his later years, and the spirit in this book that I came to love as a socialist, as a witch, as a gay man, would have been lost, I think, if he had rewritten it. I also worry that he would have relied far too heavily on the polemical writings of Professor Ronald Hutton, who a lot of witches and pagans defer to with a great deal of sort of bowing and scraping, as though they're sort of saying, "Oh, we're not worthy," a lot of that, and it's really sort of handing over their own power to one particular individual and his personal opinion, which, if you really look at the sources that he's citing, if you really read his books, they leave a lot left to be desired. They're not the only it's not the true one way, in a sense, historically speaking. He makes a lot of umbrella statements. He really leads his readers to jump to conclusions, Professor Hutton does, and that's why, in my view, it's very problematic when a lot of pagans and a lot of researchers sort of defer to him automatically without question. Okay, so hello. I thought I was reading something. Doreen's other book, Natural Magic, which is, again, a great book. It includes a lot of fascinating information that you can really mull over in your mind and really expand upon in your own practice. This is one of my personal gems. This is Man, Myth, and Magic. It is volume 22 of, I believe, a 24 or 26 volume set. I own the entire set of encyclopedias that this is from, and it is one of my personal treasures because it is just full of so much information. It's got these great, fabulous vintage photographs of witches working magic, just these fabulous old school photographs that you don't see elsewhere. And God, I just adore that set of encyclopedias so much. I was thankful enough that I was able to get over half off. I walked into the half price bookstore one day. I said, I slammed that coupon down and I said, "Shut up, take my money." I'm walking out with some encyclopedias, and I've never been happier. God, it's such a treasure trove of research. Also, I've hold on. I swear, if it's not one thing, it's something else today. The universe must be conspiring against me. I've been trying to record videos all day long. I have had to deal with the guys mowing our yard, the train, which is just half a block away, which rolls through so slowly, and then the cars just crash together like thunder. Then the neighbor across the street is getting her yard mowed as well. So I have been busy just running back and forth today. The phone just rang, so I had to stop what I was doing and go and answer it. And it was just a more goods consultant. I think if I hadn't have picked up the phone, they may not have hung up. But I digress. We have The Witch's Goddess and the companion book, The Witch's God. I actually bought this and 8 Steps for Witches from the Half Price Bookstore. I believe that a witch was having sort of a clearing out sale. They had just sort of gotten rid of lots of their old books. Most of them were hardback, and Unfortunately, I did not get the Witch's Goddess in time, so if anyone should happen to see a hardback copy of the Witch's Goddess, let me know and I will take it off your hands, because I would really like to round out my collection of the 4 hours literature. Okay, we are getting near to the end, and we have a lot of really juicy ritual books here. We have Magical Rites from the Crystal Well, which is an old magazine that used to be published. I think it was edited by Ed Fitch. Lots of really great examples of rituals and spells are in this book. I really wish that they had published more than one volume of text from this magazine. Because I've never read the magazine itself. I hear really great things about it. But Ed also wrote A Grimoire of Shadows, which is a really excellent book. Really inspirational. It would give you some really great ideas for even setting up your own Book of Shadows and Grimoire. It's just filled with great information. You can use it as it is, as a working Book of Shadows, or you can use it as inspiration for your own. And then we have a book of pagan rituals, which is edited by Herman Slater, but it was actually written by Ed Fitch as sort of a working Book of Shadows for outer court students who wanted real witchcraft, but couldn't really get access to it due to inability to join a coven for one reason or another. Access isn't always the easiest when you want to join a particular type of coven. Here in Iowa, for example, it is extremely eclectic. I would like to see a little more traditionalism here. I really would. I think it would do well here. There would be more of a balance, I think, between the do-what-you-will sort and the more structured path. It might come to create sort of a more balanced form of witchcraft here in Iowa. But apparently, Slater actually took full credit of this book when it was originally published by claiming total authorship of it, and he had to be sued to relent and say that he is merely the editor. So this is still a valuable book. If you don't have it on your library, you really need to get a copy of it. You can't go wrong there. And you also have Pagan Rituals 3, Outer Court Training Coven, which is another phenomenal book. It's just a great workbook. It has many rituals in it. The 7 rituals, candle magic procedures, leaving the coven or the circle, blessing of the cakes and the wine, consecrations, the preparing of men and women. It's really a working Book of Shadows that you can use. Again, you can use it as is, or you can use it as inspiration for your own path, your own tradition. And here is one of my treasures. It is the original Enchanted Candle book before it went mainstream. It's the 2nd edition, I believe. The 1st edition is yellow and it's comb bound. But I have the 2nd edition, which is extremely coveted because a lot of people still don't have it. They've only sort of heard of the purple version. Yeah, I was extremely fortunate to get this. I believe I got it in like early 2000, 2001 or 2 maybe. I believe I bought it from Enchantments. Maybe. Or I might have gotten it from Magical Realms. I cannot remember at this point. It's been so many years. But yeah, it's got all of her wonderful candle seals in it. So it's one of my underground treasures, and it will remain so. The purple version is extremely coveted. I was the one involved with editing the new publication of her Enchanted Candle book to get it ready for self-publication again. So that is on the market now, and if you want a copy, I highly recommend it. This is a little-known book by Laurie Cabot. It's Salem Witches Herbal Magic, and as you can see, it's sort of it's worn a bit from use. It's really a phenomenal little book. I really wish that she would expand upon it and even sort of publish a more mainstream version of this book, because it's really important. It's got some really great information and great details in it. I've used it well for many years. I use it mostly as inspiration. I look to it for some technical information now and again. But for the most part, it's just to a lot of the meanings she attributes to the herbs are mostly for my own inspiration, to see if I maybe agree with her or not. It's totally up to me whether or not I do. And the last two books are going to be the most controversial of the vintage books that I have in my collection. And they are The Witch Cult in Western Europe by Margaret Murray. I was blanking on the name. And The God of the Witches by Margaret Murray. The reason they are so controversial is because many scholars have basically accused Murray of intentionally lying to sort of prop up her theory, when in fact a lot of scholars are actually guilty of lying and misrepresenting Murray. In fact, even of putting words in her mouth to make her sound crazier than what she really was. In fact, some scholars have actually alleged that her theory is so batshit crazy that reputable academic publishers have ceased publishing her books, even as early as like the 1960s or whatever. However, that is a fucking weak sauce argument to make, because, well, for starters, it is not. The fact that a publisher stops publishing a book should not be taken as evidence of disapproval of the book. It just means people stop buying it. It's completely financial, and that argument is fallacious on the surface of it, because Oxford University Press is still publishing this book today. That is exactly who I bought this book from, directly from the publisher. And that was in, let me look for a date. Oh, apparently I did not date this, but the copyright date at least says that they've been publishing it since 1970. So Ronald Hutton was actually the one who made that argument. So sorry, Ronald, you're completely wrong on that count. It's an intellectually lazy argument to make. It really is. It's fallacious. It's just total weak sauce. But nowadays, Murray's thesis is gaining more support based on the research coming out of continental Europe. A lot of European scholars are actually finding evidence for a pagan substratum of Indo-European shamanism that really seems to be at the heart of the witch trials and witchcraft in general of the medieval era. So that's really something that we really need to be taking more seriously here in the U.S., because a lot of American and British scholars, particularly Professor Hutton, are really trying to um, instill in us that these scholars aren't really saying what they actually are. You know, he's sort of trying to impose on us that we really don't know what it is we're reading, which is unfortunate. That in and of itself is a cognitive dissonance. So, if you're interested in reading really fabulous books by European scholars, I recommend everything by Emma Wilby, Eva Pox, who's written a fabulous book called Between the Living and the Dead. Um, there's Gabor Koenigsegg, Claude Coutu, um, of course Carla Ginsburg, and so many others. So many more that I can't quite think of them now. I own them. I'm just spacing on the names of the authors. But that has been my Vinty Witch book haul, and I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's inspired you to go out looking for some vintage witchy books in your own neighborhood, or even online. You get some really awesome deals online these days. Although a lot of people think, once a book is vintage, they can charge a buttload of money for it. Yeah, I'd sort of walk through the way from someone like that. So until next time, I will bid you adieu, and as always, keep calm and witch on.